Hey guys, it's Kevin underscore my review for the second half of the season of Once Upon a Time, Season 4B, because the finale just happened, and there is tons of stuff to talk about, definitely. I will be talking about the entire, I will be talking about the entire second half of the season, which, what a season it's been, and there's a lot to talk about. I'll also be talking about what just happened in the finale. If you guys have not seen the finale, check it out. It was a really great finale. I will definitely talk about that, where I think we're going next season. I'll do everything I did in the first half of the season, but this video is probably going to be a lot longer because I have a lot I want to talk about and a lot to discuss. So, let's get into this half of the season. First of all, overall thoughts on this half of the season. Okay. I really love the first half of the season, with Elsa and the Frozen characters, but this half of the season has probably been the most I have been into Once Upon a Time since the show actually started. Seriously, this half of the season was amazing. I loved what they did with this half of the season. I thought it was an amazing second half, honestly. Probably the best season they've had, honestly. Season 4 is probably the strongest season that they've had. I think everything that went down this season, I just can't get over the amount of shit that happened this season. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot that just happened in the finale. And let's just get into it because it was absolutely incredible. There's a lot to talk about, as I said. But, basically, first of all, we have to talk about the main plot of the season. Basically, the main plot of this second half of the season, as you guys know, Gold was banished from, Storybrooke, so, but of course, he had another plan up his sleeve to basically get his happy ending and to get everyone else their happy ending. And basically, toy with them. He ends up using Cruella de Vil, Maleficent, and Ursula. Now, when I first heard they were going to be in, I'm like, these are the most random villains. They're only putting them into the story because they are Disney-related, but honestly, they work so well. I love what they did with each character because each character got fleshed out very well, and I thought it was really well done what they did. The main one here is Maleficent, but I do want to talk about each one because I think they each did have something. Something that I thought was great right away is the casting for these three. All three of them were perfect. The, Cruella casting, the casting for Maleficent, and the casting for Ursula. They were all perfect. I mean, they all had stuff to them that I thought were great. The actress that played Cruella, she got the character down perfectly. The actress that played Ursula, she got her character down perfectly. In fact, she was hilarious at points. Honestly, they added some really good comic relief to the show, which I thought was really good, definitely. The big storyline here, though, has to do with one of my favorite things, actually, this season, is that they gave a lot more for Snow and David to do, because Snow and David, they had stuff to do in the first half of the season, but especially Snow, they were definitely more comic relief in the first half of the season, so I like they really gave them a really good storyline here, which honestly, their storyline this season is awesome, because basically, they did something to Maleficent. We don't know what it was, we don't know what exactly they did, but something happened with Maleficent that they don't want to tell Emma about, and that's why Maleficent's after them, and they're worried that something bad's going to happen to Emma. Now, Maleficent, in the meantime, basically wants to turn Emma into, the Dark One. Basically wants to turn her magic into darkness and basically make her go dark, basically. Because all that magic, she could go dark, and she basically wants to get her revenge on them. Now, we eventually find out what this is that they did, and basically what ended up happening is that Snow and David, they, back in, many centuries ago in the Enchanted Forest, basically, they made a deal with the author, and the author is basically the one that's written all of their stories. Now, the author was actually picked by the apprentice to become the next author, and I'm going to talk a little more about that, which I thought was really well done. The author, by the way, best villain they've ever had. I have to say, the author's storyline was so awesome, and I loved it. And basically, the author basically made a deal with them to basically take away Maleficent's child that she was pregnant with, and it honestly is pretty fucked up what they did, but we eventually find out that they did this, and they don't want to tell Emma, obviously, but of course, Emma does end up finding out, and naturally, she's upset about it, but I love this storyline, because it got us to care so much more for Maleficent, and you actually kind of care a lot for her, and you understand what she wants. She just wants to get her child back, and we eventually find out that her child is not dead. She's still alive. Not only is she still alive, but she's actually Emma's, roommates when she was adopted, because if you remember, Emma was, in that, stayed with that family for a while. Well, remember that girl Lilly? That is actually Maleficent's child. And I thought that was a very good twist because, Emma could maybe help out Lilly, get her back, and I thought that was just a really well done episode overall. One of my favorite episodes of the season by far was introducing this character of Lilly, because you see the dynamic that these two had, and then you see her now. She's very broken now. She wants to make Emma think she has this great life, with a family and kids, but she really has no one. She has no one, and Maleficent desperately wants her back. But the thing I love, though, is that when they do get Lilly back, at first she's like, okay, how do we get revenge on them? But Maleficent doesn't want to do anything because she got what she wanted. That was her happy ending. She got what she wanted. She got her child back, and that's all she wanted. And I thought that was awesome, that she decided that she's not going to make them pay for what they did because she got her child back. That's all she wanted. All she wanted was to get her child back, and that was great, and I love that. I also love that Lilly can turn into this dragon. I think that's really cool that they did that. I think it's a really good storyline, definitely something I really enjoyed in the episode. I thought that was definitely very well done, and I love that. So that's basically the Maleficent part of the season. Now, Cruella de Vil and Ursula, they do have stuff to do here, but their stuff is a lot more secondary. First of all, we actually got to care more. I like the way they closed out their storylines, because they did a very good job of knowing when to keep them on and knowing when to get rid of them, which I thought was really well done. For example, Ursula actually is the first one to leave, which I thought was really interesting, and her storyline I really like, because basically we find out that she was this really pretty girl, but she had her voice actually taken away, by Hook, and basically she wants to hold them Snow and David captive for that, but Hook does give her voice back, and she meets up with her father, and it's actually a very sweet moment. I thought they did a very good job with that, and that's something I really enjoy, is caring for each of them. The only one you don't care about is Cruella de Vil, because she went completely dark. Like, she used to be a very sweet woman, but she went very dark, and there was no saving her. Emma actually ended up killing her, and it was actually really, I was surprised when Emma actually killed Cruella de Vil, but she did. She kills Cruella de Vil, and I thought that was really interesting. So, that's basically our Queens of Darkness. I have to say, they each were really interesting. I loved their characters. I thought they were all really good, and I couldn't wait to see what they did with their characters week to week, and I knew they had to get rid of them one by one, but honestly, I was sad to see something. When Ursula left, I was genuinely sad. I was like, okay, I don't want to see Ursula leave, because she was actually very funny at points. She had some very good stuff. In fact, I like that she didn't really want to work with Gold at first, which I thought was really cool. Also, Cruella didn't really want to work with him, and I like the way he kind of got them into working with him. Now, let's talk about Gold's big thing here, because Gold, of course, wants to get all of them their happy endings. That's what he wants. Also, Regina wants it, but Regina, of course, wants to find the author, the person that wrote the books, and they do eventually end up tracking down the author through August, who, if you remember, August was turned into Pinocchio, and they basically find a way to get August back to his normal human self, so he'll finally tell them the truth, and he tells them everything he knows about the author, but the thing I like the most about this twist is that the author is actually a lot more dangerous than Gold will ever be. He's the most powerful, menacing villain they've ever had on the show. I have to say, the author is the best villain they've ever had. He's honestly very intimidating and such an abrasive presence, and I loved his character. I thought he was great in the show. His real name, of course, is Isaiah, and we find a lot more about him in the finale, which, spoilers if you've not seen the finale, he actually, and something I like as well, is that you do care for his character. They do get you to sort of care for him, because he was kind of in this position where he was a salesman, and he was very charismatic, but there was another guy that worked with him that was a lot better, and he wasn't as good. So he actually ended up becoming the author through The Apprentice, and basically he gave him an opportunity to become the author, and he created the book. So basically, Regina wants to track down this author and try to get him to rewrite her happy ending and basically give her a happy ending. And at the same time, of course, we know that Robin went with Marion. Supposedly it was Marion that he went with over Regina. So Regina's kind of still, really upset with him about that. She really wants to get Robin back. We eventually find out the amazing twist, which I loved this twist. I thought was amazingly well done. I love this. that basically, and one of my, probably, honestly, one of my favorite episodes this season is the episode where they don't focus as much on the main characters. They focus on Robin Hood, Marion, and Gold, and I think it was awesome that they did that. I loved it. They bring Zelena back in the show. Now, I'm like, why are you bringing Zelena back? It felt really random. Well, here's the twist. Marion was Zelena all along. If you remember, Zelena in Season 3 supposedly was killed by Gold. I never believed that she was killed because, of course, that green ooze went through the sewer pipes and then just disappeared. We find out that at the end of Season 3, she actually was there the whole time. She ended up killing Marion in the Enchanted Forest and has been her the entire time and basically stole her from Regina so she can get her happy ending. And she is now, and basically there's nothing that Robin can do about it because she is pregnant. And I thought that was an amazing twist. Honestly, that is probably the most shocking twist they have ever done on this show. I never saw that coming. I never even thought they'd bring Zelena back. I thought, okay, she's just dead. I never thought she was, but I always thought they'd bring her back at some point. But doing it that way just really showed how awesome this show has gotten. That was such an awesome twist, and I absolutely loved that twist. Honestly, I'm like, that right there, that is awesome. I love that they did that. I love that they weren't afraid to bring in a twist like that, and it really just made this so much stronger than it already was. Because from here, Regina, when she finds out Zelena's alive, she wants to do whatever she can to kill her and, you know, basically get Robin back. But we find out that she can't get Robin back because Zelena's actually pregnant. And Robin wants to stick by her because obviously he's not going to abandon his child. And it's really sad to see because all this time he thought he was happy with Marion. But no, he's been played by Zelena the whole time. And I thought that was really interesting when we found that out. That's definitely something I was looking forward to seeing what was going to happen there. Definitely something I thought was really interesting overall. I just thought overall that storyline was really good, and I definitely really enjoyed it. It brought, you know, Zelena back. This was the best Zelena's been, because if you guys remember, I liked Zelena's storyline. I just found it to be kind of boring last season. They made it a lot more interesting here, because now she wants to, you know, take everything from Regina, and it's just, she's so badass. I love Zelena. She's such a badass. I mean, she's does terrible things, but the actress that plays her, honestly, she's awesome. She's awesome, and I think she did an amazing job in the role. I mean, just, seriously, that is the episode where I'm like, I love Zelena's character. I think she was amazing after that episode, and I love what they did with her. I thought she was awesome this season. So, of course, Regina does whatever she can to make sure that Zelena is gone and that she is not taken, you know, that Hook does not, you know, she does not take Robin away from her. So she ends up locking Zelena up into the nut house space, into this prison, and Zelena's gonna stay there, and when she has her baby, I guess we'll see what happens in Season 5, because that's the last we saw of her. Well, we did see her in the finale, which I will talk about, because it was amazing what they did with her there, but basically, that's what happened with Zelena. I thought that was really interesting overall, when we found that out that Zelena was Marion. I thought that was actually really cool that they did that. So also, one of the other things I like is that Gold, you can see that Gold is very upset about what happened with him and Belle, and one of the things that happened to Gold this season, that he's actually dying. He actually, the dark one in his heart, is actually dying, and he has a heart attack, in the episode with Zelena, and for a while you think that Belle is actually moving on with Will Scarlet, aka the Knave, which I was happy that they did that, because they had nothing to do with him the first half of the season. I'm like, okay, maybe he actually has a purpose now. He still doesn't have much of a purpose, but whatever. I mean, he's still on the show. He has no reason to be on the show, but I really want them to give him something to do in Season 5, because he has literally nothing to do in the show right now. Nothing to do, and it's really sad, but, you know, whatever. I mean, whatever. What can you do there? There's really nothing you can do about that. But, basically, what's happening there is that you really see Gold. He really wants to prove himself to Belle, but obviously they want nothing to do with him because of what happened at the end of Season 4. I mean, at the end of the first half of Season 4, but he wants to get them their happy endings, and I like seeing that. However, the author does end up tricking him, and this is when things get awesome here, because last week's episode, basically, we see that the author, it looks like he's going to work with Regina, and that, you know, he's going to give Regina a happy ending. However, he doesn't go to Regina. He goes right to Gold, makes this deal with him, starts writing, and that is when the season finale starts. And now I'm going to talk about the season finale, which was absolutely amazing. There's a lot to talk about, and basically that's how we got to the season finale. And if you guys have not seen the season finale, I'm going to talk about it in full spoilers, which I know you guys don't want to hear about, so now I'm going to talk about the season finale. Okay. So, season finale, absolutely amazing, I have to say. Such an epic finale. I loved every minute of it. I thought it was such a good payoff to an amazing season overall. I loved it. So, of course, as we know, the author wrote down, basically gave the villains their happy endings, but he had to give the heroes and turn them into villains, which I have to say was an awesome concept. The way they promoted it, I thought was awesome, and it really didn't pay off. I mean, it really did pay off. I mean, seeing Snow as this really evil queen, I mean, Jennifer Goodwin just, oh my god, she was genuinely creepy in this episode. It was awesome. I loved it. However, I think the best part was Henry. He is probably the one character that they have done the best job with this season, because one, he had nothing to do this season, so they actually gave him something to do in this season 4 finale, which was awesome. They made him a much more interesting character, because he is the only one that once the author, you know, changes the story, he is the only one that actually remembers what happened, so he has to save everyone. I think that's really well done. Basically, the author has gone on to make this new book called Heroes and Villains, and he's become this really successful author, but the one rule that the author, you know, couldn't make is that the author couldn't give himself a happy ending. Well, he's made that rule, so he can no longer change anything. And the author, I have to say, as I said, such an awesome villain. He honestly was really funny at points as well. Like, he had so many, like, funny lines, and I loved it. And I just thought he was just an awesome villain. The guy who plays the author, I'm sad to see him go, but he was awesome in this episode. Basically, here's the basic story of what's going on in the season finale. Of course, you know, basically, here's what's going on. Regina is now a hunter, basically, where Snow White is, but instead of it being because of what happened with Snow White, she was in love with James Hook. She was in love with James Hook, basically, and he was killed by Snow White, so she basically, and, you know, she was killed by Regina. Snow White was in love with him, but she was killed by Regina, so basically Snow White wants to get revenge on Regina, and the author knows all these details, and the author wants to make sure that this wedding happens, because basically, Robin and Regina almost do have something, until Regina finds out that Zelena is getting married to Robin Hood. So basically, the happy ending that Zelena didn't have has happened to Regina, because of course Zelena was abandoned by their mother, but in this version, Regina was abandoned by their mother, and I thought that was really interesting when we found that out. That's definitely something I really like seeing. So Regina has to do whatever she can to stop this wedding. Meanwhile, Emma is trapped because she was the savior, and of course the author didn't want the savior to somehow save them, so he's locked her up into this tower, and Henry is there, and I love the scene where Emma and Henry reunite. I mean, it was so great to see it. I absolutely love it. They still have that amazing chemistry together, and it was amazing to see, and it was a great, I loved seeing that. I thought it was amazing that they reunited. I absolutely love that. But basically, they've reunited, and basically Henry goes to save all of them, and they end up meeting up with, of course, Hook. Now, Hook is actually not the Hook we all know, because Hook is actually being controlled by Blackbeard. Blackbeard is controlling Hook, and basically Hook's a lot weaker, and Henry tries to get him to, you know, also, what's happened with David is that David is now being controlled by Snow White, because Snow White took David from, you know, basically made herself think she was in love with David when she's really not, and she's only doing that because she needs to be in love with someone. She really is just taking advantage of him. But I thought that was really interesting to see. Just seeing them evil, I thought was all really well done. I definitely love seeing that. Also, Gold is a lot more of it. He's a knight now, but he's definitely a cowardly knight. As the author said, he's a coward, and he knows he's not a hero. He's done nothing, so he really is not a hero. But Belle is trying to prove to him that he is a hero, and something I love is that even though we know that these two are not together now, just seeing them together I thought was awesome, because I've always loved these two together, and I was happy that they did somehow get them back together, which I thought was really well done. Something I definitely love seeing. So, basically, what happens after this is, basically what we see after this is that, they end up, basically Henry gets Hook to fight David, but David ends up killing Hook, and when David killed Hook, I thought they were going to stick with that. I'm like, oh my god, they just killed Hook. I thought they were going to stick with that death, and I really thought, then when Regina died, I thought they were going to stick with that as well. Like, my heart was racing throughout this episode, and that was awesome. I have to say, last year's finale compared to this year's finale was so much more intense, because last year's finale, it's like, okay, they're time traveling, they're going to be okay, they're going to fix things. Here, I really didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if they'd be able to fix things. I really didn't know if they were going to be able to fix things here. I thought they were going to stay like this throughout the season, just the way this episode was going. I didn't think it'd be as easy as it was, and honestly, it's awesome what they do end up doing. Basically, what ends up happening is we see that they don't get to stop the wedding because Regina is actually stabbed by Snow White, and what ends up happening is that Henry actually takes the pen from Isaac, and Henry is the new author, which I thought was awesome that we saw that. And one of the other things, though, is that the whole time Robin's stuck by Regina, he never loves Zelena. Zelena is this really selfish person. She only cares about getting married, and I thought that was kind of funny what they did with her. But basically, Regina's now been stabbed, and Henry has to save her, and he writes, thanks to Regina, the hero's sacrifice, Isaac's spell was undone, and they're back in Storybrooke, and basically she wakes up, and to see Henry, and they're all okay, because basically everything that happened in that spell was undone, so she's okay. Hook is now okay, which I thought was awesome. They're all back together, and basically David and Snow banished the author from Storybrooke, and it seems like everything's over, but of course, it's not over, which I thought was really well done, because I'm like, are you really going to end the season that easily? I'm like, there has to be more to this, and we get a very similar scene to last year's. Remember where they all met up, in the coffee shop, basically? They all met up there, and that happens. Well, Lilly talks to, also, we also see that Henry is talking to the apprentice, but the apprentice says that it was fiction and that he really shouldn't change anything, and basically Henry's not going to change anything because things are good, and he says he should, Henry can honor him by telling real stories, and he doesn't need to change things. Even though they wanted their happy endings, they can get them on their own. I like that message because, honestly, I thought that that's what it was going to come to, is that they were going to realize that they can get these happy endings on their own, that they don't really need someone to get them their happy endings, which I thought was really well done overall. It's a really good message and honestly translates very well into today, which I thought was just I really like that message. I thought that was really good, I have to say. So, Gold, in the meantime, his heart, basically, he did not believe anyone could love him, and basically, Belle tells him that the thing with Will, she's not with Will, and he tells her to go with Will, but she says she doesn't love Will and won't let him die, and she says she will always love him, and I thought it was an amazing scene. Basically, he says once he dies, only the Dark One's gonna remain, and basically, Gold does end up collapsing. She calls his name, he's completely out, and basically, I thought that was crazy when we saw it. I really didn't know what was going to happen after this scene. But basically, we then get this scene with Lilly and Emma, and Lilly basically wants to find her father, because even her mother doesn't even know who her father is, and she wants to track down her father, find her father, and basically fix that. So that's basically what Lily's thing next season is going to be. Now, what's going on with Gold next season, I think is going to be awesome. I can't wait to see what happens there. Because the Dark One literally comes out of Gold. Gold is now going to go back to before he was the Dark One, and Gold's no longer the Dark One. That whole part of the show is over, which that is awesome, because the entire show, Gold has been the Dark One, and now he's no longer the Dark One. Now, someone else is going to be the Dark One, and the question is, who is going to be the Dark One? And we also find out that the only person that can stop the Dark One is Merlin. They have to track down Merlin. Merlin is the original sorcerer. The apprentice tells, that he is the original sorcerer. The Dark One almost goes to the apprentice, but Emma ends up stopping that from happening, and Emma basically sacrifices herself to the darkness. The darkness goes into Emma, and Emma has now gone dark, and that's how the season ends. So, basically, there's a lot that's going to happen next season. I can't wait to see what happens. And now we see that, and Emma's now the dark one, because the dagger now says Emma Swan. So She's definitely the Dark One, and I thought that was an amazing thing that we saw. I can't wait to see what happens next season, but what an amazing season this has been. Oh my god, and one amazing cliffhanger. I mean, now we have Emma being the Dark One. I can't wait to see how Emma is going to be as the Dark One, definitely. I mean, that's going to be awesome. That's something I was definitely looking forward that we didn't get to see this season. I really want to see Emma go dark, and now we're going to get to see it because Emma's always been the main character, the hero, so it's going to be so cool to see her against everyone and them having to fight her and her basically having to be Gold, which is going to be awesome to see. Probably the one thing I'm looking forward to the most is seeing Gold not be evil. Seeing Gold basically be his normal self and not be this evil person anymore. And see him as actually a good person, which is something I'm definitely looking forward to seeing. And something I'm interested in seeing if that's actually going to work out for him. Because who knows? Gold's never been in this position where he's been, where he's been able to be a normal, someone who's not evil. I don't think he's ever been in that position. It's going to be interesting to see if Gold can actually handle it, because I really don't know how that's going to be overall. And also them tracking down Merlin. I can't wait to see how that works out. And also Lilly finding her father. I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out as well. Definitely, I think that's going to be really interesting. I really love Lily's character. I think she's a really good addition to the cast. I definitely feel like they're going to make her a regular next season. If they really want to do a good job with this storyline, you pretty much have to make her a regular. I mean, she's a great character. I love what they did with her. I can't wait to see where they go next season. I cannot wait for next season. I cannot tell you guys how much I'm looking forward to next season. Like last season, yay, Frozen, yay, I was looking forward to that. But next season is going to be so much better because there's so much more at stake next season. Now I have to track down Merlin. Now the Dark One is changing. I mean, this is the biggest twist they've ever had because now the Dark One is no longer in Gold and it's in Emma, and Emma's now dark. So Emma's now going to be against all of them, and she's going to be evil, and I just can't wait to see how this works. And I can't wait to see if they finally destroy the Dark One. Now, if this does happen, I'm kind of feeling like next season's going to be the final season. I'm not really sure. I just feel like that might happen. But what do you guys think? Overall, guys, I absolutely love this season. Let me know what you guys thought of this half of the season. Which half did you like better? I definitely love the second half of the season better. First half of the season was amazing, but this half was so much more interesting, and I loved it, and so much more is at stake. And I love the mess. Also, how is Henry going to be as the author? Is he going to change anything? I don't know. We'll have to see what happens there. But I definitely feel like there's going to be a lot more at stake next season. It's going to be a lot darker, and I can't wait to see what happens next season. But that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought of this season. And I will see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for tonight's episode of Game of Thrones. So I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.